value investors, they need to perform a thorough fundamental analysis. They need to analyze the company, the industry, and the overall economy. And that requires a lot of huge amount of work. And then they have to be very smart to understand the market different than others. And then in terms of the discipline, they have to be very self-disciplined because they usually will follow the margin of safety rule. So if the margin of safety is less than 3% of their intrinsic value, they will not go on and invest in the company. Even though there's still be a great investment opportunity, they might not just move on to the next project. And also, Jack Klugman once mentioned in his book, Margin of Safety, that sometimes investors are their own worst enemy. Because when they make money and during the economic downturn, sometimes people will become greedy and then overconfident. So they believe all they did was perfect, I'm better than everybody else, and then they start to do something that is stupid. So in order for a value investor to be successful, they have to have an unusually strict discipline. And also, they will have to have the long-term view because the investment bank or in financial institute in Wall Street, they tend to have a short-term investment horizon. So they tend to focus on the relative returns of the absolute return. And then that's the part for value investors to need the patience. They have to be patient. They have to believe that what they're doing, and then in order to achieve such a great, amazing return. So that's the true reason why those super investors can beat the market. It's not the advanced techniques or tools, and then the talent people work for them make them achieve such a great performance. It's actually who they are to make them such a very successful investors. That's my opinion. And then so these are some personal views. First, I want to thank you all for this great opportunity because this is a very unique experience in terms of the process. And I did learn a lot about value investing, also get the chance to review some of the work, some of the subject I learned before. I truly appreciate this opportunity. And then if you ask me, would I invest my parents' money? My answer would be no, I will not invest my parents' money now. Because when I prepared this presentation, I realized that value investing is kind of simple idea, but it's very hard to be self-disciplined. You can be hardworking, but self-discipline, it takes time. And only time can test whether you are self-disciplined or not. And then only the long-term performance can define whether you are a successful value investor or not. So right now, I will not invest my parents' money. But in the future, if my performance can pass the test of the market, and then I will go on and invest my parents' money. And then lastly, would I invest with super investors? My answer is yes. And then I just go on and apply the modern portfolio theory, try to calculate the proportion invest with each of the super investors I chose. And then I have the 3 different required rate of return, and I have 2 different risk-free rates. So the 5.3 risk-free rate is the average rate, average risk-free rate over the last 20 years. And then the 2.6 is the risk-free rate on the day when I prepare this material. By the way, I use the US 10-year Treasury bond as the risk-free asset. So as you can see, the higher the risk-free rate, the lower the Sharpe ratio. So a Sharpe ratio is a measure that whether this investment is a smart investment or the return was based on the assessed risk that the investor takes on. So if you can record the previous slide that the Sharpe ratio for the market portfolio, there was just 0.15%. But here, the super investors will be able to achieve the 1.66 of Sharpe ratio. So that's no wonder why super investors will be able to outperform the market and then can consistently beat the market over the last 1 decade, 2 decades. So lastly, I want to conclude this presentation using the quote from Seth Klarman. Again, here I want to focus on the characteristics, the human side of the success, not the techniques, not the tools that the super investors used to generate this amazing return. So as I said, for value investors, they have to perform an in-depth fundamental analysis, assume a long-term instead of a short-term results, and then they have to have a control of the risk, and then resist the crowd psychology. So that's very hard to do. If you can successfully achieve this, then you'll be able to become a successful value investor. So that's my presentation. Do you have any questions?
No, that was very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, you put a lot of work in that.
I had one question. Oh.
Yes, go ahead.
No, I just had one question. You were saying something about value investors using modern portfolio theory, but based more on longer-term results for risk. Yeah, I just had a question about that. Do you think value investors use modern portfolio theory?
Yes, because they have to find a way to allocate the capital, right? So in that sense, if it's not modern portfolio theory, then there will be something similar to allocate their capital, their resources in each individual asset. So, because modern portfolio theory was based on several assumptions, and then one of them is the same with the efficient market hypothesis, which is investors are rational and risk averse. We all know there are not, sometimes as a human being, nobody can be all rational at all times, right? And also there's another assumption was all the information will be received by the investors at the same time, which is not true, obviously, because for professional investors, they have the time and access to the information. And for the individual investors, they may not have the access to the information. So when the information is coming out, and then they might be working, they don't have time to analyze the new piece of information and then go on to take actions. So in that sense, I believe that super investors will be some kind of believe that modern portfolio works, but not all the time.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think they believe there's some validity, but yeah, just how deep of a value investor you are. So I think some may use it to a degree, but I would just state something for you to maybe think about in the future. I think some of the most probably of the value investors probably do not use modern portfolio theory and very much at all. And the reason I say that is they look for undervalued securities. Modern portfolio theory is based on a lot on historical correlations between asset classes, and value investors don't really believe past correlations between asset classes are necessarily a good predictor of what the future correlations are. So they're more concerned, rather than integrating various assets with different correlations together to decrease the volatility of the portfolio, it doesn't really work well for value investor philosophy. For one, value investors don't look at risk the same way